Let's do it.
Yeah.
Retraction.
Let's get retraction.
You should get like a Queen thing, like the beginning of "We Will Rock You," some type of like retraction.
That's not bad. That's not bad. I was thinking of more in like the dun, 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 dun. I thought you meant like the Queen,
Yeah, well, anything you want to hype up.
God save the King.
How do you feel about that? They have
We
a
haven't
day
started
off.
the episode. Why don't I start the episode and then we'll talk about it?
Well, you don't want to trash that, do you?
I'm not trashing it. No, I'm not trashing it at all. I'm being respectful.
Are you?
I'm going to be respectful.
You're going to be respectful?
I'm going to be respectul. I actually wasn't
I'm going to be. Starting now,
I wasn't actually going to be disparaging at all of the former colonial powers. Now, the funny thing is,
our capital gets sacked. We don't even get a day off.
We don't get a day off for anything.
No,
not a thing. But
we get 9/11 off.
We didn't get Pearl Harbor off. How would you expect to get 9/11 off?
It's fair. Well, at least we were like at war. Or no, not really. We were just providing arms, but still.
Yeah, I'm just saying. We don't get anything off. Anyway, let's let the people know what show they're watching.
Go ahead.
It is time for Retraction. I'm Antoine.
I'm Jamie, and we are reversing course through discourse.
Otherwise known as the podcast who took a week off. But we're back, baby. And you'll never.
Everyone needs a break, all right? Everyone needs a break. What episode is this, Antoine?
Episode 90.
And I think the only break we ever had was when I had COVID. So
yeah,
we're doing good.
We keep it going. We keep it going.
Pretty good.
We're episode 90, so we're 6 episodes behind the year of the Queen's death.
Oh,
because she's 96, right? She's 96.
70-year reign.
It's amazing. It's fantastic.
The second longest monarch. I don't know. Monarch, I saw it between one of the French kings, right?
I mean, it's not. Oh, really?
Like 72 years. I saw a meme.
The Sun King.
I don't know
was
if
that
it's
Louis? Was that Louis the Fifth?
Yeah, something. 1600s. I don't know.
No,
I leave it to you. You're the French expert.
Nope, far from an expert.
French aficionado.
I dabble.
Just dabble in French.
I dabble in the French. I'm a bit of a francophile, but not in a creepy way. I don't have like that stupid Chat Noir poster anywhere in my house.
The little cat.
Yeah,
cat
I don't have that.
In the background.
No. And I don't like macaroons. So there's that.
Well, yeah, that's a strike.
There's a lot of strikes. I got a lot of strikes. But here. This is yeah. So I mean,
what do you have to say? What do you have to say about the Queen?
Well, my point. The only thing I have to say, actually, because again, this is respectful. I'm telling you, the only thing that I think is wild is the song. Because here's the thing: when I was a kid, because I have family that are English, it never occurred to me that song changed based on the monarch that was presiding or that was reigning.
Makes sense.
Well,
consider it.
When I was a kid, I literally thought "God Save the Queen" was like her song. Like I thought, I didn't really think that every monarch got to pick their song, but I just for some reason thought that.
Well, they just changed the one lyric, or they changed the whole song.
No, they just changed the one word.
No,
so
okay.
Now
so
it's
they don't
God
get to
Save the
choose
King.
their song.
I didn't know that.
It's just Well,
that was a big revelation for me. I'm trying to explain that was a wild.
That's your revelation. What my revelation is that they actually have to go through and change all the currencies anywhere where her face is.
I did not know that.
And that seems like a huge economic blow.
Are you serious? Is that that's a fact? You know this for a fact. They have to change all the money. Why would they do that?
Who is more familiar with the situation than I am told me that every bill across the globe with her face will be updated.
That seems weird to have to. It's like erasing you from history. I mean, are there historical?
But when you think about monarchs and emperors throughout history, they always got their coinage, right? Like their face was on their coinage.
There was massive issues with that, with having to do that.
Well, that's what tradition is, isn't there? Just massive issues.
I did not know that. Okay, so that's a new thing. I mean, you're gonna have to make a massive retraction.
So the song looks pretty petty, doesn't it? The song doesn't look like a big deal.
It's trivial. changing the one word is very trivial when you're actually gonna have to reissue all that money. That's crazy. First of all, I would hold on to that money. That's going to be worth something to have the longest reigning.
You and the other 8 billion people that have a bill, probably.
For now, but then people die off, and it's all about who holds on to it longest. It's about what family can keep hold of it in the best condition for the longest. It's a long game. It's
that
like
and
playing
NFT,
it's a
folks.
long
That
game.
that and NFTs. Invest today.
It's a long game.
Hold on to those bills. Pass them down.
Yeah,
1,000 years from now.
1,000 years from now, it's gonna be worth a lot of money.
Create that time capsule.
People will be like, "What was money?" And you'll be like, "And not only do I have the last, well, not me personally, but not only does a relative of mine, no, not an ancestor. What do you call?
Well, your descendants, you would be there.
Descendants. Thank you. Yes. So one of my descendants, many hundreds of years from now, might be able to say, not only do I have the last coinage, but on that coinage is the longest reigning monarch in the history of the then modern world, because we'll far exceeded that. We'll probably be living on Mars. So let's call, not only will they have money, but they'll have the last remaining currency of Earth, and in that currency they will have the longest reigning monarch of the planet Earth that once existed. So it's gonna be really big. It's gonna be like it's gonna insure them billions of dollars.
It's going to be huge. You'll have your descendants will have joy times with all of your memorabilia from the 21st century.
Well, and then I said billions of dollars, which by that point will, through inflation, probably be equivalent to maybe $20 or $30 today.
If they're using, first of all, if they're using any currency that would be translating to that, it'll probably use units or something, or there is no money.
No, it'll be Musk coins.
Musk coins.
You'll be like, what is that? What is that? 15 Musks? If that's what it'll be. They'll have the queen in the currency, and it'll probably be worth around.
It'll be the type of thing where you move the bill, and it's like to the left is Musk, to the right is the queen.
Ooh, digital. I mean, like hologram. I love that.
Yeah, like the kids' holograms.
Yeah,
that like plastic thing.
It.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there you go.
What does that go for? What is that? 20 Musks?
It depends what planet you're on. It depends what planet you're on. Clearly. If you're on Mars, you get a Musk.
Musk coins.
All right. What do you got, Antoine? You want me to go or you want to go?
No, you go. You go, because I always go first. So you go.
Well, in honor of your chivalry, I will do a topic for you. Ranked choice voting strikes again. So, have you heard about the recent Alaska election?
Yes, I have. It's going to be momentous.
Okay, so Alaska had a recent election where this voting method was used, and no surprise, the parties are polarized over less polarized results. Democrat Mary Pitola made history this week as the first native, Alaskan native, the first woman, and the first ranked choice winner to be elected to her state's lone seat in the U.S. House.
Now, you know what I think is interesting? Because I got to interrupt you here. Not one headline, because again, I think it's more momentous that you have the first Indigenous person elected to, is it Senate or Congress?
House. So it would be Congress. Like, it's the House.
Sorry, not Congress. Yes, I know. I missed. Yeah, to the House. Yes, sorry. The Congress is both. Not one actually talked about the ranked choice voting. So that's going to be really interesting. I'm going to have a lot to say about that depending on how this article. But this isn't where are you reading this? Did you say where you're reading this from?
This is a Washington Post article.
Oh, good for you, WAPO.
I got access. They gave me a free.
Free.
They gave me a free shot. They gave me a freebie.
Cool.
So I spent my monthly freebie on this one, guys.
Uh-oh. That means it's worth something.
Hopefully it's worth it.
What is that? 22 Musk? 22 Musk? I think that's what.
One queen.
One queen.
I had to cash in an old one.
Oh, queen. 33 Musk. All right, go on.
All right. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with this method of voting, ranked choice voting is a process in which voters rank candidates in order of preference. If no candidate wins a majority of first choice votes, the lowest performing candidate is eliminated, and all of their backup votes are reallocated amongst the remaining contenders. The process continues until there is a winner. It has also been used in New York and Maine in the past, and it is on the Nevada ballot, I believe, coming up. So you could be seeing it there soon too. So it's spreading, domino effect. So Peltola led first choice votes. Pitola led after first choice votes were counted in the special election. Palin in second made up ground, but still didn't overtake Pitola after the first backup choices of Beish were finished, who finished third, were factored in. Jack Centucci, a politics professor at Drexel University, who's studied ranked choice voting, said everybody's rushing to draw conclusions about who benefits from this when it's totally unpredictable. Conservatives say it's not the will of the people. Liberals say it's less polarizing, and that it drives more positive campaigns, although I'm not sure how it promotes positive campaigns. I don't know what motivating factor is inherent in this voting methodology that would yield that. Then an article never talked about it again after
Why
that.
it yields positive campaigns?
Yeah,
because
so
anyone could vote for you, and it doesn't make sense. Like, are you saying? When we talk about positive, what are they? What do you?
I mean,
give a context for it?
No, not really. It was kind of just like a talking point that liberals have, is that, well, this method of voting often bubbles up less polarizing candidates, which,
yeah,
I mean, according to the Drexel professor, you know, there's no, like, you have to see how this runs first for a while to see if that's actually true. But the positivity remark, I took it as campaigns wouldn't be as dirty. Like they would be, I guess, just more positive in their messaging and not try and tear down the candidate. I just don't see why that's...
I can't speak for it. Yeah, I can't speak why that occurs. I mean, I can't. I can only talk.
Is it because there's too many? Is it because you can't zero in on like who your main opponent is? Because really anyone is in play when it's ranked choice voting. I mean, and you just can't spend your money to attack everybody.
We could conjecture. Yeah, you could conjecture on that. I mean, you could come to that. You know, that's an interesting hypothesis. I don't know if you could actually nail it down to say why that occurs. Again,
so do you think there's a downside to ranked choice voting? Because
no,
I don't want to discount the conservatives. I think it's super interesting, and I would love to let this play out for like a decade or so to just see like what happens.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
What, you know,
it's great for people like you, to be fair. That's who it really helps out. At the end of the day, it helps out independence.
But so you could have someone who would win, but then, you know, you have these third and fourth place people who would get eliminated, and now all of a sudden their votes get reallocated. Yeah. And it goes,
which allows you to vote for who you want.
Yeah.
Without and I wonder the mindset, your vote.
So the mindset would be that you would be okay with that. So let's say do you have, so if there's 4 candidates,
yes,
do you have to vote for 4?
You don't have to do anything, but it's,
you know what I mean? Like, do you have to order
them
in 4?
But it's in your best
interest. Because what if you don't like number 4 and for whatever reason?
Okay, fine. So you do 1, 2, 3. That's fine.
But you can do that.
You should be able to. Yes, there should not be. They're not going to. I've never heard of a system in ranked choice voting where they will throw out votes based on people who did not fill out the entirety of the ballot. I think that would be insane if that occurs.
Well, I'm asking because I'm like, if you inadvertently cause someone to win who you are like really not thrilled with, but they were your number 3 or 4.
Yeah, but
I just don't know how it works.
Yeah, all right. So ideally, and the way I've always understood it to work is, let's say you had 5 candidates and you were lukewarm about 3 of them. One you absolutely hated, and then there was one that you were very enthused about, but they weren't incredibly popular. So they were probably, let's say they were polling you 5 candidates. The candidate that you really like is polling third. What you would do if you had 5 choices is you could completely omit the 5th candidate that you do not like at all. You could then rank your 4th candidate, or no, I said third, your 3rd candidate as your first choice, and then everyone else in the subsequent order, leaving off the 5th person because you can't stand them. Now, I don't know if that helps you necessarily to just omit them. I'm only trying to think of it. I think the way ranked choice would probably hurt you is if you were just enthused about a single candidate and decided, I'm only going to vote for that one person.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
I think that's where it really
party
really
logic
hurts you.
just wouldn't party logic, if you were a loyalist, like some folks are, just, all right, ranked choice voting, I have the option, but I'm not putting anyone else's name down.
You could, but the thing is,
an opposition person.
But the reason ranked choice voting is so nice is because it starts to break people out of the mindset of either or, which actually,
but they have to want to do that, right?
No, not necessarily, because the thing is, it's like it's almost like the war is over, but you won't give up your gun. That's kind of like, where you.
It's like the Republicans will put a libertarian as their number 2 or 3, and the Democrats will put a Green Party as their number 2 or 3.
Yeah,
but they're
probably.
not going to mix, right? Like under the current tribalism that we see today. So
Maybe.
ranked choice voting
It
doesn't
depends.
work in that.
Well, it depends because again, this is sort of maybe where they're coming down with the campaigns are not as nasty because if basically I can't give a great scenario right off the top of my head, but what I can say is that if the Republicans' second choice candidate is the Libertarian and the first choice candidate gets knocked out of the ballot, then that leaves the Libertarian versus the Green. If the same thing were to happen on the Democrat side, which is now giving you this whole new shift in terms of mindset, because now you have two traditionally entrenched camps who would only be behind Republican or Democrat, and now they're forced to vote for either a Libertarian or Green Party person, which I'm just saying starts to mix things up a little bit because you don't have such diehardness when it comes to those two.
I feel like you have to rank everyone, though, right? I feel like you have to rank everyone.
No, you would rank everyone. I'm just trying to say that if not,
well, earlier we were saying that you could omit people. I'm saying
you can as a voter. You can omit.
You're saying both things. Which one is it?
What
do you omit people, or do you vote for everyone?
You gave a scenario where where if you were conservative,
like if you had a rank, clearly you wouldn't want to vote for Trump, right? No, Trump was on the ballot.
That's correct.
He was 1 out of 4 candidates.
That's correct. I would probably
in ranked choice voting.
Yeah.
Do you have to put him as number 4?
No, I would leave him off.
But see, like I'm almost saying like you should have to, right?
It makes sense to do so. Because a non-vote is still a vote, because at the end of the day,
if you don't do it, your whole ballot is void.
No, why are you stuck on this? Why would that happen? That should not happen.
Well, I want to know the rules.
No, well, I don't know what the rules are.
Well, because you can't say like you really should, but if you don't, then no one's.
I think cares. You can because the way that it tallies, it's irrelevant. If you do not cast a vote for a particular person,
yeah, but you have no one's votes to. But then if the bottom gets knocked out, then the next person, then all of their votes get distributed among.
Yes. The votes that were there. If you don't vote for anything, you're not affecting anything one way or another. It's a plus.
Yeah, but if you didn't vote for Trump,
right? It's just a 0.
If you didn't vote for Trump and Trump got knocked out, that vote for Trump wouldn't be sent to anyone.
That's correct. It wouldn't.
Yeah, but that's the problem, right? Because that's the whole point, is that it's supposed to be sent to someone. It's supposed to be sent to your number.
I already voted. If I voted for another person that was on that, so let's say that Trump was the 3rd candidate and I didn't vote for Trump, but I voted for 1 and 2, Trump's already knocked out. So my second vote goes to the next person anyway. You see what I'm saying?
No.
So that only happens when your candidate doesn't meet the threshold, and then you're trying to figure out which of the next choice candidates is going to rise to the top. So you're just going to allocate however many votes that second person got, for instance, in order to say, do they meet the threshold to either? Because look, France has this. This is how the French elect their president. They have a first run, and if no one meets that threshold, then they have a second run, which is sort of essentially kind of how ranked choice. That's like ranked choice in practice. I don't know.
I don't take French political advice from anyone who doesn't have the Cat Noir poster in the background.
who doesn't have a house full of macaroons. I'm just trying to. Look here. I'm trying to explain this to show that it's very simple for the listener, because I don't want to get it confused. And we may have to go back on this. Where actually, I should just look up the actual. Right, even if I look up the academic to ranked choice voting, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's how it's implemented, because there are variations of it. So we should say that there are variations of it. I've just never heard of one where you get penalized if you don't put in any name. I think that wouldn't be right, because you're always allowed to do a write-in. So it's the same thing. It's like, all right, I don't want to vote for Trump, I'll vote for myself. You're allowed to do that. And the system still works. So it's the same kind of scenario there. It's a non-vote for Trump. Either way, if you leave him off the ballot or you vote for yourself, it's a 0 vote for him, and yet ranked choice works just as well. So it's definitely possible to do that. And so, are there any? Because you could say we have pitfalls of what we have now. Are there any pitfalls of ranked choice voting? To be honest, in the debate, right? What would be a reasonable counter, or is there really none? Is it just in your mind superior in every way? There's no benefit to what we have today over ranked choice. I think if you were trying to,
You were in debate class. If you were in
choice.
debate class
Yeah,
and you were
sure.
forced to defend what we have today, what would you have
It
to
would be
say?
very cynical. It would be a very cynical debate that I would have to position. Sorry, not debate. It would be a very cynical position that I would have to take up in order to lambast ranked choice voting. And the way that you would do it is you would point out how tumultuous it could be in the short term. Long term, as people's third or fourth picks start to gain notoriety, because you have these wild elections where either the population is just too split to have anyone really make that threshold of electability right off of the first voting. So you start to get a few libertarians, you start to get a few green candidates that start to enter the fray. The problem with our system is that it is so entrenched in party lines that in the interim, those people probably would not be very effective, because they would either still have to join blue or red if blue and red were able to maintain their majorities in the House.
So I see. So the transitional,
the transition.
So because we're not coming to this ecosystem and on a clean slate, right?
Clean slate, exactly.
Because there's all this legacy institutional existence, meaning everything's owned by one of the two parties right now.
That's right. Yep.
And if this new way of voting started introducing other parties in leadership positions, it is going to take several election cycles for them to gain footprints to get stuff done, because everyone's going to mean girl them into not getting legislation passed.
That's the argument. And that, like when I said it's cynical, it's because you're basically saying, are we willing to risk the short term? So then you don't. Then
Mean Girl reference to the movie, not anything other than that.
What movie? What movie?
Mean Girls.
Oh, good. Yeah, good reference. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to make it seem like I'm picking on anyone.
Lindsay Lohan.
Yes.
But yeah, no. I think you stated it perfectly. That's exactly the argument you would begin to make, and you would probably couch it in this. We can't afford. We have climate change. We have energy crisis. We can't afford 22 years of instability while libertarians figure out what they want to do as a coalition, wasting time with this ranked choice. I mean, that's. I don't think anyone's even taking that nuanced of approach, because I feel like you said, conservatives are probably just pure fear mongering about it not being right or fair.
Well, they're pissed because they didn't win. They're pissed.
Well, yeah, of course. Well, I mean, the thing is that is going to happen more and more. The thing that's funny to say that liberals support it is odd, because Democrats will also start to lose more and more. So both Democrats and conservatives, as ranked choice voting moves on out of its infancy into its as it matures, both those two parties will find themselves having a harder time maintaining power, because it's just very difficult in a ranked choice system.
Is this a fair statement? In ranked choice voting, if everyone agrees on their third choice the most, that's who wins?
That's exactly what happens.
Okay.
So if you have a very charismatic person who is completely unaffiliated, it doesn't necessarily need to be green or libertarian. It really could be an independent. It could be an independent that people really think is funny and has quirky ideas and is just unaligned. And yeah, if enough people, unlike what happens in our system right now, where it's like if Democrats or Republicans start voting for this third person, but there isn't enough to win the overall, then everyone starts complaining that this third person helped steal the election for whatever party ends up winning, because they're siphoning off votes. In a ranked choice voting system, siphoning off votes is great, because it means that means that either the Republican or the Democrat won't make the threshold. They may have the majority of votes, but they will have to hit over a threshold in order to win outright. And if the third party person has the second the second most votes, and the first person, of course, has the majority of votes, it will still go to a runoff. And in that runoff, almost anything can happen, because now you have greater visibility of the quirky candidate. Now the quirky candidate has more media time because they're the only other option. And in that scenario, yeah, that's how you have people who go from the bottom to the top.
I wonder if a lack of choice. I know that we have several parties, but clearly they don't have the exposure that the main two parties have.
By design.
It sounds silly to say you need more choice in order for ranked choice voting to thrive, because I think that's probably true with any form of voting.
Yeah, but I feel like we have it. We have
enough choice for that to thrive. It wouldn't be, well, everyone's number one or two are going to be one of the first parties, so no one else really ever has a chance.
It won't be, because just like you just pointed out, a Republican's second choice is never going to be a Democrat. That's why this will hurt both parties in the long run, because a Democrat's second choice will never be a Republican, which means so they're never going to get that second vote.
So the only time to ever bridge the two will be
it'll be a person who's unaffiliated. Yeah,
an independent or something.
That's why this
benefits, because they're a neutral player in both minds of the rank and file.
That's exactly right.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's how it plays out. That's why the parties, I can't believe
it's almost like a slap on the hand for not collaborating more.
It is. And it's the truest,
it's like some forced correction.
It's pure. It's like a purest form of choice to say that.
Like, if you two don't get along, you're both going in timeout.
Exactly.
And this person's going to get it.
That's exactly right.
If you can't share, none of you
get it. That's exactly how it works. Yeah.
Interesting.
So it really keeps them honest. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. All right. Well, that's that one. Okay. What do you got?
Oh, I had a very interesting article. So New York City pet shelters are overrun with guinea pigs. That was a Slate article that came out today.
Wow. You should have asked me what type of animal. What do I think New York City shelters are overrun with?
Should I have? You would have just said
you're
rats.
probably yeah, that would have been the logical one. Like, all of a sudden animal rights activists have gotten their way and rats are now being helped. That's interesting. Guinea pigs, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you know what I'll say. It's appropriate in terms of the size of the apartments that people have.
Yeah.
Dogs is, unless you have a little lap dog, it's kind of cruel. We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
Cats, I feel like
there's a reason for it, though. There's a reason for it. I'll throw some stuff out there. Look at this. So the city council is dragging its paws. Boom.
Boom.
Good job.
We're here all night, folks. We're here all night.
On a bill that would ban the sale of guinea pigs, as local shelters have been inundated with four-legged pets in the pandemic, according to people familiar with the matter. Some 600 guinea pigs have been brought to city-funded animal shelters so far this year. Just 282 were brought during the same time period back in 2019. Last year, which is 2021, 481 piggies were surrendered between January 1st and September 12th, as data shows.
So, again, perfect animal for the city, but the pandemic strained people's financials, so they had to surrender, which thankfully they did.
No, it's not that, though. It had nothing to do with surrendering your financials. It had to do with the fact that people got bored of having a guinea pig in their house, and they bought
a guinea pig during the pandemic because they needed a companion. That's and then exactly they got to go out and they're like, "Oh, I'm done with this thing."
Yeah. They're but like, "I'm at the bar." Still, to my point, perfect animal
for the city. People went with that, so I sang.
So
my instincts were right there.
So sort of. So 34 out of 51
it wasn't dogs.
31 out of 51 members of the council have signed on to the bill. But the delay is partially related to Speaker Adrian Adams, whose skittishness around any animal-related hearing as activists continue to push for a ban on horse-drawn carriages, according to multiple people familiar with the matter. As always, there's always a back end for the politics. So apparently,
wait, why are the horses related to the story?
Well, because it's all about priority. So if you start prioritizing bans on guinea pigs, bans on other things, the horse thing has been a long-standing issue.
Yeah, that's been a thing forever.
Yeah, so I'm just saying maybe this person feels a little vulnerable in terms of their electability if they were to sign on to a guinea pig ban without having done much. They didn't clarify.
So it's like you did something for the guinea pigs, but not the horses.
Well, it looks like she may have either been.
So she's not going to do anything for anyone.
Yeah, basically. Yeah,
well, choice.
That's how you keep your seat. I mean, at the end of the day. So
I'm
it says
apathetic towards everything, guys. I don't choose sides.
That's a good way to play it. Guinea pigs are often sold by national chain stores like Petco and PetSmart for less than $50 and are often impulse buys. That was another aspect of it.
Jesus, guys, they're not like point of sale things. They're not like Big League Chew by the register.
But here's the issue, because there was a big motivation, there was a big sort of plea to have them spayed, but apparently there are only 2 known veterinarians in New York City who have the skills to spay and neuter guinea pigs. Each surgery can cost between $400 and $515. So that's a I thought that was a really cool, not cool. It's just it's a very important fact, because you've bought a guinea pig for $50 because it's cheap.
Who would know that?
And then you're gonna neuter it for $500.
$500,
and then you're sort of
because only 2 people know how to do it.
Yeah. And then you're sort of like, well, this explains why they're ending up in the wild and in the street, because it's not worth it. That's not that's a terrible return on your investment.
Where are they indigenous to? Will they survive a New York winter?
Oh, that's funny. You just asked that. Right here, yes. ACC just trying to drum up support within the council. I'm not sure what ACC stands for, but they're the ones.
I think I saw them in Peru when I was there. They were like guinea pigs.
Well, I think they're aren't they edible? Aren't they eaten?
Well, that's what
certain places?
I didn't want to go into it, but they eat them there. Yeah.
So one of them said there, and I always wanted to yell this out, but because it almost seems like it needed an exclamation mark. But she says they're not going to be able to survive on their own. They're going to get eaten by predators. So no, they will not survive if they are simply dumped out in the streets.
Oh man. Well, no, you don't want to do that because it would be invasive. But if they're not going to survive the winter, then it's just cruel on top of that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's what they're doing.
But
here's the thing:
it's not. What do you do? Do you ship them to another country? Like, what do you do with that?
I don't know.
Disperse them across the country.
So they did write. There's a little piece here too that says that said that earlier this year the state legislators, so this is the state people, not the city council of New York, passed the puppy mill pipeline bill, which bans the sale of dogs, cats, and rabbits from stores. So they're still waiting on Governor Kathy Hochul's signature on that, and the city already banned. So the city did this as well. The city banned the sale of rabbits from shops in 2014. So
I got an idea. You take a page. You take a page from the cable companies, right?
Ooh,
Instead of a triple play, it's a double play.
Okay.
And you make it more affordable to buy a puppy and a guinea pig rather than a puppy alone.
Except
so it's just like if you wanted internet and phone. So it's $50 for a puppy or $25 for a puppy and a guinea pig, and then you start getting rid of your guinea pigs with the puppies.
How are you? How do
government subsidized?
Okay,
government subsidized.
Okay, so the government's going to give you money for your guinea pig.
They're going to give the shelters money to lower the cost of the adoption.
But people don't want guinea pigs.
Yeah, but it's cheaper to get it. It's like the cable company. I don't use a landline. I don't use a landline in my triple play, but I still pay for the landline because it's cheaper to get that with my cable and internet.
I like where your head's at, except for the fact that everyone already has cable. Everyone already has their guinea pigs. They don't want them anymore, so they're going to give them back. So how do you stop that?
Not get back. There's people that want dogs, or fine, fair enough. How about they open up sales to people across the country that want guinea pigs? People want guinea pigs.
Well,
I never had one.
It could be an interesting business model. If there was,
you got to brand them. These are Manhattan guinea pigs, right? These are Manhattan guinea pigs.
These are Sex and the City pigs.
Very
guinea pigs. Sex and the City guinea pigs. They put them in heels.
They're skinny pigs.
They're skinny pigs. I love it. That's good. Good job. Well, that's why you're a marketer, isn't it? The city. So here's the thing. They've already it's funny you were adding the dogs because apparently dogs they're going to be banned, so you're not going to be able to buy dogs at a main chain pet store anymore. Which I do want to follow up on this story because I wonder how that may actually affect the puppy mills per se, because as soon as I read that, if you're going to outlaw the chain stores from being able to buy from puppy mills, to me, I'm like, well, won't the puppy mills just go direct? Won't they? Now they're, I mean, isn't that kind of helping them? Like, I don't know what the puppy mills are, their infrastructure is like, but I feel like if you owned a puppy mill, your whole thing right now would be, I'm going to sell direct and save some cost.
Yeah, it's almost like the vetting that a corporation would force upon you is removed, and you're like, all right, I don't have to worry about many guidelines anymore.
That's kind of how I feel about it. I mean, I guess puppy mills like do not have the infrastructure, maybe, or are not legally able to do this. So maybe that will be a way to shut them down. But I do worry about that. That's initially.
Or do you just create a black market? And I don't know. Maybe people are as aware enough now where they wouldn't do that because it's obviously terrible.
Well, but, clearly not. If you have to make a bill to outlaw it, then that means there was enough money flooding into that market in order to sustain it. So you had to outlaw it, which means that people are not realizing that it's a bad thing to do. That's why you make the law.
You got to get those designer puppies.
Well, we'll see. But I think that's an interesting one to follow up on. Personally, I'm interested in that.
Yeah, it's an interesting move. So you wouldn't be able to go to a box store to get an animal.
Yeah, basically.
It's
going to raise hard, right? The prices
because there's that, but then you want people to get them out of the shelters because none of it's a good situation. But you have all those animals that are already existing, and I guess the box stores are creating demand for new animals to be born. Is that kind of what it is?
Yeah, I mean,
if you have competition between the demand for baby animals to be produced versus giving homes to something that already exists.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've had this conversation.
That's hard because is it just preference? Can you force people to not get a puppy and say, no, man, I'm sorry, your area, you only have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old to choose from, and that's what you're getting. You don't get to get a puppy.
You could start outlawing, which is so I've actually had this discussion with vegans before, where the argument was that, well, you should just start banning the sale of animals to own. And I said, well, if you do that, you are going to create a black market. So if you do not make it outright illegal, so you basically would need to say that if you are seen with an animal outside, you are getting either a citation or there's like repercussion where this animal will be taken.
Jail time. It'd have to be jail time.
You don't have to go that far. It doesn't have to be that punitive. You could simply stop at
the really animal will be taken from you. Because all you would get is rich people saying, "Oh, so it costs $50 to own this."
Well, no, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. That's the problem. That's what I'm trying to say. So the thing is, I said if you do not do that, and you simply go with bills like this, which this is sort of an issue I have with these kinds of bills. You're basically going to make it that dogs are something that only very wealthy people will own. So if it's not illegal, then it just means the cost will be it'll be exponential. It will just.
Well, I'm saying if it is illegal, but the penalty isn't jail time and it's a fine, then people will just pay their fine. I don't know why you need
to go to jail because you could
it's just like parking, right? If you have rich people that just get their parking tickets and it's like, all right, whatever.
Unless it starts. You're right. It depends on how the fines affect your license, your ability to get a car. It doesn't
have to be jail time if you revoke their ability to drive.
It would have to start adding up where it's like I don't know. There might be a tax that's put onto your renting or something like that. You could get creative. We don't have to fill the jail cells with people because they bought a dog. Like that's a little ridiculous, but yeah.
But you say because they own a dog, but you're outlawing it in the first place because you're respecting its right to live freely.
I mean, if you're treating it like exist. I mean, they would basically start.
If you're affording it human rights to a degree, then it's not just because you own a dog. It would be because you own a human, like because you own another being.
Well, there is a difference, and the difference is that without dog ownership, in particular, cats completely different story, and maybe I'll have to make a retraction on this.
Well, cats are smarter too.
The cats, we're just saying, cats can be feral, and if they are returned back to nature, they will survive. But majority of the dogs that are owned today have been bred to live and exist with people. To put them out in the wild, they will either perish, or they just will not procreate because they won't have the space to do so. Unless they're going to create a dog sanctuary somewhere. there's just no place for them to exist and
Like
start
bred
to propagate.
dogs, so they can't even survive on their own anymore.
Well, yeah. Well, I
Even
mean,
breathe properly.
well, for thousands of people,
Their
that's what
eyeballs are popping out of their skulls. They got all this
it's
weird
not
stuff.
just about inbreeding though. Now, you're referencing more of like an inbreeding situation. It's more of a
Well, no, they're
dependency.
designers. Like you have a pug or
Yeah.
you have a King Charles Cavalier. Like these animals have
even bigger dogs
chronic issues because their biology is off.
That's true. That's true across the board. That's true. But I'm saying, like, even if you want to take some of the healthier farm dogs,
I'm saying if you take a pug or something, you're like, get out there and survive in the woods. Like it's gonna have a rough go.
Well, it's going to be out there with the guinea pigs. It's going to be it's going to be running from the predators with the guinea pigs. I'm just talking about even normal sized dogs that are like mutts that you cannot, you can't put a name to what they actually are. There's just no way. Look how much wolf coverage we do, and how skittish people get about having wolves around their property. You're just going to have packs of dogs roaming through the city. There's no way people are going to tolerate that. They're going to ask them to be exterminated or removed. So it's not, that's what I'm saying. Like they will cease to exist. Dogs will cease to exist. If you would outlaw dog ownership, eventually they would go extinct across the board because people will not tolerate having 20 or so dogs roaming up and down Fifth Avenue. That's just never going to happen.
I'm just imagining packs of designer dogs running around.
Well, they won't be designer for long. Those things they'll get into it. They'll get into it. They won't be designer for too long.
As
give it a year or two.
As Malcolm says from Jurassic Park, life finds a way.
Yes, exactly. Life finds a way. Yeah.
Interesting.
So that was fun. Yeah. That.
What do you want to do? I got a short one.
You got a short one. Yeah. Let's finish that up. Let's go back around the horn.
This is another one for you. Is AI part of art's future or its cause of death?
I was going to talk about the AI art. I was going to talk about that at some point.
Oh boy. All right. Well, I got at least an angle of this story for you, and you can always bring it up later on if you got something different. Jason Allen, a video game designer in Pueblo, Colorado, spent roughly 80 hours working on his entry to the Colorado State Fair's digital arts competition. Judges awarded. Is it the exact story?
The exact story. Yep. Keep going.
Is it a Smithsonian story?
I don't know. I didn't hear about it through the Smithsonian magazine, but I've heard the story.
This one's Smithsonian.
I had comments.
Well, keep your comments, and then I'm going to venture out of his area in a minute. But so judges awarded him first place, which came with a $300 prize. Yay for him. Good job, Jason. Allen used Midjourney, an artificial intelligence program that can turn text descriptions into images. He says he also made that clear to state officials when he dropped off his submission, and later the judges said he would have won regardless. So when they were told that, hey, he used this, if they didn't remember, they didn't know, they were like, it doesn't matter. He didn't break any rules. For anyone that isn't familiar with this, Antoine and I were laughing a little bit because I'm pretty sure Antoine sent this to me a few weeks ago.
I did. It wasn't. Right? I don't know if it was Midjourney, but it was the one. I feel
like Discord. It was though.
Because is Midjourney the one on Discord? Maybe.
I don't know. It sounds very familiar. It sounds very familiar. But so basically, folks, if you don't know, because Antoine had to like send me screenshots because I could not figure out how to do this because I'm not that type of person. But
I am.
But he is. He did it. He figured it out.
I will spend an evening telling a robot to make art for me.
You know what? I didn't know that it was a limited amount of guesses or tries or whatever. And I had so much fun with it. I was up way past my bedtime doing this stuff because it was so fun. And well, because you learn. And so basically the AI interprets those statements that you make and generates an image. So if you say fluffy cats, that's what you'll get. But if you say Leonardo da Vinci, Galactic Eye, HD, hyperrealism, energy portal, utopian city, you'll get some trippy stuff. And this dude spent 80 hours doing it, and he made a really cool image. But I was sending it to Antoine. I got excited. You would just tweak it in little ways, and this thing would do really cool stuff. So there was one tweet that the Smithsonian article included in their article, and it was basically, and I'm paraphrasing, quoting sort of, we're watching the death of artistry. If creative jobs aren't safe for machines, what will we have then? So I don't know what your thoughts are on this, and I'm really curious to get them. But obviously you have jobs in general that could be at risk in a sense. You have the advancement of creativity to weigh. I think this opens up accessibility and capability to the masses. Like, look at me. I can do all this cool stuff just by talking to it.
Yeah.
And you just keep iterating, and it's really cool. But it also still derives from a library of what exists. So by itself, you won't see anything fundamentally new. You just get more people doing cool things, but it's just iterations of the same. So if people did this back in like BC, you just keep getting that. You wouldn't get what we have today. So I guess there's like
cave drawings on cave drawings on cave drawings.
So you have the extreme example of, well, we'll be stuck here, but why would creatives stop creating and keep enriching that library? So I don't know, like, what are your thoughts there?
Two things. When it comes to what this guy did, I do agree with anyone who basically says that there should be a separate judging contest for AI art.
You're worried about the contest. Okay.
Yeah.
The integrity of the Colorado contest.
It's the integrity of the contest.
Let me start here.
I had to, because that's the foundational jumping off point, and then you can move on. You know what? There.
This is a perfect analogy for our government's inability to manage and regulate the digital age.
Part of it.
Come on, work with me here, right? You got all your social media, you got all these cryptocurrencies.
It's because, again, they didn't understand. I don't think those people understand. That's the thing. There's no way that someone judging an art competition could comprehend what has gone into AI developed art. There's no way, because it's so new. And if you're a traditionally trained artist, you've been to art school, you're doing all these different things, you have not been entrenched in computer science and in terms of looking at machine learning and AI. There's just no way. Well, I mean, the odds of those two people crossing paths into the one individual to be like, hey, hold on here, I know about this. This is not. That's why they let it go. It's the same thing with our government. It's why they allow Google as a search engine monopoly.
So you think the judge was like, huh? Well, it looks good to me.
I think they were like, that's cute. I mean, in their head, they probably were liking it to like using just any other form of digital art that in terms of you could
AI. What is that, like Paint? Is that Microsoft Paint?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, if you get into, I don't want to, the higher end art making apps, not apps, but basically how people make digital art. I mean, there are aspects of those things that help you make better art, for instance.
I mean, this dude used AI to generate.
It's different.
And then
this is completely different.
But he took it into Photoshop, and it was a digital art competition. So he took it into Photoshop.
Oh, there you go.
Cleaned it up and upscaled it and all that kind of stuff. So, and he generated something. I'm gonna make this up, folks. It's in the article, but he made several versions. Like, I'm gonna say like 300 or something like that. He made several versions, picked the top 3 and worked on those.
He put
80 hours. 80 hours.
But at the same time, so did other people who just generated their art. So fine,
you want a different category. You want it like an award show. Best actor, best actress, best sound effects,
comedy,
best whatever.
Comedy versus drama.
Best AI digital art. That's
I'm just saying, it's the age old question. Is it fair to judge a comedy and a drama for the same award? They're just two different medias. You're shooting for two different audiences. They're shooting for two different reactions from the audience. It's the same thing here.
If you find a drama funny,
well, then now it's a dramedy.
The eye of the beholder.
Well, you're right. And
just like I find horror hilarious. The plot lines are ridiculous.
Sure, but some people are just scared out of their minds. I mean, you're a psychopath. But the what we really want to get to here is that I think I don't want to spend that much time on it, but I think in the interim, until this gets fleshed out more, if you use AI as the foundational aspect or the foundation of your artwork, it should go into an AI judging competition, and then art that is developed wholly by people should be in a different vein. Now, again,
and Google Chatbot should decide the winner.
Yeah, at the end, I mean, Google Chatbot has proved to be a very sensitive soul.
I mean, it's sentient, so I think it deserves it.
I just want love, Jamie.
I like this. I like this one.
So, all right, and then to go off on another aspect of this, the second part where is this the death of artists? I do not believe so, and I don't believe so at all.
So you don't think I'm assuming so when I think of that, right, you're not thinking about people who just have a passion, they like to doodle, they like to do it in their off time, and
that's hobbyists.
Maybe it's but no, you get people who are generally good at art and like to do it, but it's a side gig or it's something that I don't know, they sell on the side, right?
It will not destroy
but the money, art money, what is that, like corporate money? Like, where are people? Where are artists? They are illustrators, or
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get to.
And so
will
that's like,
so
will corporations be like, I would rather pay someone to sit there and spit streams of directions into AI and finally get what I want, rather than hire an illustrator. Like, I can do that in-house.
That's exactly right.
I can train
I think
a
that's
marketing manager or a design person to do that, and I don't need an illustrator anymore. Because when I think of the death of artistry, where's the money?
But you could argue that that's not art. You know what I'm saying? Like at that level, where to the corporate medium, it's
but not so you have people doing paintings or
but not creative,
or advertisements,
for a product, to advertise, to promote a product. The death of an illustrator actually doing a campaign or mocking up something like that is probably over. The market,
because I don't see a person on the side of the street, painting because they love it and they're trying to make some bucks. Like, I don't see them, like, I guess, and this is kind of where I'm ignorant too. Like, what is the art scene? What is the spectrum? You have people who doodle and you have people who get paid millions of dollars, but I don't know who they are and who's paying them.
That's fine.
Like, what is going on?
But that's different.
Who does this threaten?
You're not focusing on the people who, who is this threatening? It's threatening people who, I don't know, who make animations for a podcast. It's threatening people who are doing anime.
That's corporate, though. That's corporate.
That's what I'm saying. Those are the people who are most at risk.
So you're saying that it's corporate
art.
Corporate art.
Anyone corporate artists are about to be replaced. They're about to be a thing of the past. Those are the people who need to be worried. Absolutely. High-end artists or people who want to be artists for artist's sake. People will always buy or take I can't see a world where people will pay more for art generated by a computer than they would for the blood, sweat, and tears of an artist. Because first of all, an artist's art, most of it appreciates after they're dead because you can't make any more. That's part of the value of the art. And if you're alive and you're making and you're happy to be high up in the art world, well, people are buying the art a lot more for your personality as well. The personality of the artist.
But will AI? But I guess the point here is, it again. My thing is, yes, I agree with everything you said, and I think the value of still people creating art, other than them just coming up with stuff on their own and there being the novelty of it, is that the AI, at least in my understanding, is not going to create the next impressionism or the next abstract or the next Baroque or Renaissance. It's people that venture into new territory and express themselves through their art. And the AI is only going to draw from the well that people fill. They are never going to dig their own well.
Not necessarily. No, I don't believe that that's true, because...
But it's true in this program.
For now, yeah, because we're at the rudimentary and we're at the beginning.
Well, it's interesting. That's an interesting point.
I'm not saying that this thing is going to become sentient. All I'm saying is that it will get so much information that it will start to mix things in ways that maybe people had never conceived of. And then
we've seen that even with medicine. We've covered that before on the pod, where we found vaccines or medicine to super bugs by going through millions and millions of different things.
That's exactly right.
We covered that on the pod.
That's exactly right. It's the iterations. It's the fact that this thing will have more...
Well, it's combinations. It's so you're saying, but it's still combining what exists.
Yes.
To come up with something that people haven't thought of yet.
But
in terms of something net new and completely different.
That would be very new. That's how how human beings work. I mean, that's how new art. I mean, that's how art errors happen. Is that there's somebody who's taking the history of human art and then they innovate in a way.
They're combining at a much faster pace.
Oh yeah. That's the thing. This thing, the problem is this thing
combining 24/7, 365.
Exactly. So instead of what would have taken hundreds of years or 50 years to create a new era of art,
but will that outpace human interest? Will people be like, I don't get it?
It might. That's the thing. I mean, it will devalue. Here's what it will do. It will devalue basic arts, like basic animations, basic things that are just not a premium. It will take that to base. It will be, instead of what might have been $250 to get this image that was bespoke and created for you, it's going to be 50 cents. It's going to be $1 because they're creating so many. And it's
AI is going to have a category, a
Yeah.
junk bucket, a junk
Yeah.
folder that's called Before Its Time.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
That
something
maybe
like
like 1,000 years from now, people will be like, this is gold. But
yeah. I don't. I'm just saying that again. I do not see because first of all, everyone's been talking about the death of books forever because there are AIs out there that can generate a story. There's not tons, but there are successful AIs that can create a story, beginning to end, and just start generating them out and then printing them as books, and people could read them, and people read AI stories.
Pretty
and
sure I
they
have
say,
them as kids' books. Some of these things are ridiculous.
Yeah, maybe. But the thing is, most people look at it and they say, "Oh yeah, that's a story written by a robot." It's like that was interesting, but that's not really what I'm looking for right now. I prefer something that has more of a human touch to it. And the thing is, it will get sophisticated to a point where, yes, I think it will actually start to devalue the space of writing in general.
And then so people will
fill
the void, fill the vacuum, right?
I think that you
so you think so. This is interesting. People. This is interesting. So actually, here's a good point. Art is a voice of that time. It is a voice of the generations that live, and it is a reflection of society.
Yes.
It's one thing to combine elements and say, in a very cold, agnostic way, here's an impressionist style, here's an abstract style, I'm going to combine them and make a new landscape. But what is it saying? What's the commentary? What's the narrative of that piece? Will AI factor that in to say, I have my finger on the pulse of the world or of this community, and these are the different styles I'm combining to communicate this message? It's the message of the art that might get lost. A corporation can pay and enter in directives to say, this is what I want to see, which is, I think, what we're talking about. But the other side of art that is a commentary on existence of that time, will AI ever do that?
On its own, probably not. It would be people continuing to ask for the same thing over and over again, to where, like the Obama, remember the what was it, the Obama Hope art that became very famous, and the artist.
Well, so would AI be like, Obama, you know what your message should be? Hope. Let me create a bunch of hope stuff.
No, what I'm saying, what will happen is, what happens is someone creates Obama Hope, and then everyone loves it, and then they keep asking AI bots to continue to do that in different ways. So then you have this era where Obama Hope is still speaking to it's still speaking to the zeitgeist. It's speaking to what's going on. So you have all this art that is still representative of what people are interested in. It's just that it's a dime a dozen because everyone's able to just add their own flair to it, and so it may devalue.
But people get tired of the same message over and over.
Yeah, well, I'm saying you will move on. Yeah, I'm just saying
it's like fashion, right? Like, it needs to change. It needs to.
It will.
It needs to.
Like I said,
hope is cool, but look at hope now. I mean, what hope do we have?
Right, exactly. No, exactly. You're absolutely right.
And if it was still hope, it'd be like, dude,
yeah,
you missed the boat.
It's more cynical.
I was hoping, and you blew it.
Well, the AI would know that because no one's asking for it anymore. But you're absolutely right. Just like everything else, I feel like art moves so quickly. It doesn't have its staying power as it once did.
But does AI pick up that nuance, or does someone, like you said, have to program it in? Is it like, nope, it's time to reset the AI? Is it like
has to learn?
Reset the clock. Like,
it has to learn. It's just or lost. Is it hit the button? Yeah, you always have to hit the button. Yeah. Like I said, it will pick up on based on what people are asking for. Then it will figure out what's the most interesting thing to people at that time. But again, we're still talking about commercial art. It's not necessarily something that you would see in a gallery. And again, you would still see the first ever person who came up with it, like the Obama Hope. That piece might be in a gallery, and then everything that was that comes afterwards is basically trash.
That's fair. But I think we ventured off very quickly into like sentient art, where we are just being fed art that we never really asked for, but we're asking AI to monitor public sentiment to deliver art to us. But in terms of, well, now you're allowing people to express themselves who maybe only did so through clothing and haircuts, but they didn't have, the right stroke of the brush or pen. Now you're allowing them to express themselves on mediums that were never physically accessible to them before, but now they can speak to the medium, and have something generated. I mean, is it almost a good thing for art in that way, where more people get to deliver art in different ways for us to receive it? Whereas, you know what I mean? Like they would maybe.
Oh no, I completely understand what you're saying here. I'm still stuck on the philosophy of it. I just cannot see a world, or it's not even a world. It's just not. It's not something that is intrinsic to the human condition, and there is a barrier when you are creating anything through a third party. And when I say third party, we're still talking about computers. There's a disconnect. I think digital art is not as meaningful, and I will go out there even for the artist that is creating it. And we could get flack for this, because maybe we should get flack for this. But I'm venturing. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it without being an artist myself. I'm gonna say it. You're not making the same connection. Here's the thing. That's not even derogatory to say that. It's just a fact. It is not the same connection as your ready to hand, as your ability to simply to use a
What's
tool
the difference between
to draw on paper?
So what's the difference between a Photoshop person going to Getty, getting a bunch of images and making something completely net new and saying, here's my art, and everyone's like, that's amazing, versus saying, I don't have the skill set to do that, but I will speak to the AI and say what I want and iterate on that until I have something that I'm happy with?
I think that eventually people will get to the point where that will then become the way you make art. So the thing is, I think we can evolve into it. But as it stands right now, for people like us, a generation without it,
doesn't make any sense. You're saying you can evolve into it and then it's cool, but they can't do it now? What is that?
I'm not saying they can't do it now. I'm saying that times change. We're
not ready. The world's not ready for free energy.
Well, look, there was.
Did you ever see Chain Reaction or The Saint? Come on.
Look at
another podcast that episode that we did.
It's the same. It's the same aspect of silent film to talkies. You have that period where there's a weird disconnect, and the people who are doing silent film are going to be talking about
telling Charlie to shut his mouth. You're telling Charlie to shut his mouth.
I'm just saying that, they're like, I spent years crafting the ability to emote emotion without words. I spent all this time working on this craft where I'm able to make a person laugh with just a look. And then now here's this person that is just saying nonsense, and the craft is lost. They're like a shell of the stuff that I was working on. Things get
but
lost.
You're making it seem but I think the difference here,
my point is you evolve into it.
No, in all fairness, the difference here is that the current form of art has had its time. It's not like people just started doing oil paintings 2 years ago and then all of a sudden AI is kicking in. You're like, dude, we haven't had time to perfect oil painting yet. Because yes, if you had silent films and Charlie's just getting into it, and then you're like, well, now we got the talkies, and you're like, oh, dude, but Charlie didn't even get to perfect his emoting. Where's slapstick? We didn't even get to do slapstick yet.
That's fair.
Like we've been doing this for a while. When is it time then?
I think my point is that it's just not going to seem natural to us because we didn't grow up into it. But anyone who grew up into it, that's what I'm getting at. Anyone who grows up talking into a computer to build art, they will feel that connection that I'm trying to talk about right now with drawing, where you've got paper and pen. They will feel as if because they won't know anything else. And then we'll see how that goes for time. But here's the thing: just like digital photography,
you like the original South Park better than what it is now, and it was like construction paper cutouts.
Well, I'm just saying this is not unlike what's happening with photography. You have a growing movement in photography to go back to film. There, you will always have those people who are like, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, no, I've heard this, and you know what my critique on this is, and maybe it's not exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, sure.
How far back in film are you going?
What do you
just
mean?
where it's a little inconvenient, but not totally inconvenient.
Well, yes, they're not going. No. They're
no. So that's what I mean. There's a pretentiousness to that movement.
Yeah. No, they're not going to sit in a dark room with the chemicals trying to.
Or the big hood over there.
Yeah,
the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going
like
crazy.
The old timey Western photos.
I'm just saying, you go back to it. But my point is, they want less of an immediate gratification because they want to feel as
Well,
if
they're
there's a
scared of
little.
the Instagrammers, and everyone's got a phone, and everyone's a photographer now, and you got 1,000 filters and all that stuff.
Well, I'm just saying, but then and that cheapens it in a way where it's just so easily reproducible, where you're able to just
Or is it that your
fix
skill,
anything?
your skill does not insulate you to express yourself? Everyone has thoughts, but not
Yes.
everyone has that unique skill that until now
Well, has time to
technology
develop
did
it.
not allow you,
Right.
did not allow other people to do it. It's like everyone has these thoughts,
Yeah.
and the technology that exists only allows people with that capability to leverage that technology to express themselves. Do you know what I mean? It's like everyone has a story in their head,
Yeah.
but only some people have hands. And the only instrument to get your story out is a pen. So then what do? What does everyone without hands do?
Well, I mean,
and now all of us, do you know what I mean? Though,
well, I hear what you're saying, but I mean, you can make the same argument. I mean, does everyone have a book? Anyone can write a book now. Before you had to.
but then it's a matter of quality. All right. So the person with hands and without hands, who has a really good story? Well, if someone had a really good story, but was never able to pen it down, write it down, like that's not, I mean, you know what I mean?
But
yes, you're going to be flooded with junk.
That's the thing.
You're going to be flooded with junk.
But don't take the minority and make it the majority. Because
but they're not going to bubble to the top.
Right. And they wouldn't, but it's still not.
Even the people using AI, you're going to have, but even people using AI, you're going to have people competing in that. And only the best are going to rise to the top. And if you're so worried about the people not using AI, like if they, I mean, and maybe this is a naive statement or maybe it's a fair statement. I don't know. But if people not using AI have something to say in a way that AI could never express or someone using AI could never express, then they'll bubble to the top too? Or is this just not, is that not fair?
I think that it's more, I don't know why. I was going to, I'm toying with if this is, I don't know how to say this. No, I'm not going to say it.
It's hard, right? It's hard sometimes. No. I say things all the time and I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, no. Let's just say that eventually AI art, look, there's no doubt in my mind that AI art will probably dominate at some point. It will be the art probably for art contests because people are going to go that way. They're going to say that this is more egalitarian. This is allowing
But will it just be the Photoshop? Will it just be the Photoshop? You used to have to take photos and do different things with them differently.
It's
exposures and all that stuff. Now you can expose and everything within Photoshop. So is it
it's just going to be
a tool.
It's a tool. It's a tool, but the thing is this, it's a little more than a tool. That's the problem. Photoshop, you still have to have, I mean, look, this guy did a lot of work, but the thing is all the work that he did is going to also start to fall away as the AI gets better. So even though he could say, I did this for 80 hours today, it's like, well, it's not going to take you 80 hours, especially now that you've done it once, and this computer can start to learn your style. It's going to get faster and faster to make what you want. So that's that.
Yeah, but who's going to say anyone? Yeah, but who's to say that? Who's to say that? But who is to say that that's what people will want?
Well, I mean,
so I'm going to do this really cool thing over and over for the rest of my life and perfect it. But like, who's to say that's in demand?
Well, I mean, I think that's true for anything. It's true for any kind of art that you're creating, even if you're not using an AI. So
but if everyone's doing this really cool thing and AI is producing whatever, like if AI is producing what people, I guess it's like it's what people want. So if people don't want it, then it'll work itself out. But if people want it, then isn't that good?
Sure. I don't know where that. Sure. What I'm trying to say is that it makes it easier to just make what people want.
AI could satisfy people, but I don't know about that. So maybe let's not do that. But
no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it will reach a point of saturation, just like Instagram. I don't participate in Instagram because there is a formula to the photos that will get the most likes, and that may change slightly, but there is still
it's a secret sauce.
It's a secret sauce. You're saying you're asking, or you're saying there is?
Tell the viewers. You can't say something like that and then not tell the listeners.
I don't know if you're a guy. Maybe you just Photoshop a shirt. You just do something shirtless.
Just wanted to make you feel uncomfortable
on a beach. It's not you basically put yourself in a green screen and attach what is it that the Fiji or what's the place with the huts in the water? I forget right now.
Like Bora Bora or the
You
Maldives.
you Photoshop yourself in the back of Bora Bora.
Yeah.
Lots of people are going to be like, "Oh my god, you look amazing! Look at this photo of you."
What do the kids call those, thirst traps?
Yeah, my point is, there's a way. There's a way to do it, and you figure it out, and it doesn't really change because it's getting at the instinctual aspects of the human condition.
That's funny.
To want sexuality over anything else. So
I think the listeners knew. I just wanted to ask.
Oh, good. Well, I wanted to just get out there to let the listeners know that they know that we know what the best Instagram photos should be. It's not going to be some creative thing of a black and white of a mouse running across a barn window. That's not your Instagram bait there. So anyway, Jamie, where can they find us?
At Retraction Media, guys, hit us up on Twitter. Let us know your thoughts. Keep sending us ideas. You can do those through tagging us, calling us out, replying to our stuff, sending us DMs, whatever you want. Rate us on your favorite podcasting platform. And most importantly, think about what your favorite episode is. Send it to a friend or family member. But if you can't, just share the pod with them. We appreciate it.
And with that, Retraction out.